Is it on?
It's on.
Good evening from the house with recap video number 1. We keep coming up with different topics to hit on, so I'm sure there'll be a recap number 2 and maybe a recap number 3, I don't know. But we're going to just give some final thoughts on the road. What you got, Mama?
Yes. Tonight we're going to talk about reality versus what we went into it thinking about RVing. Our favorite city, our least favorite city, to plan or not to plan, like campgrounds, activities, and your day on the road driving, pets on the road with you, and living tiny for 2 months. So our first topic is reality versus thoughts about RVing. Papa, what you got?
I had no idea what the reality of it was. I had backpacked when I was a kid, quite a bit, but I never camped in an RV or in a commercial campground before, and so I didn't know what to expect. But so I got all my expectations from YouTube, and that's all the YouTube folks are trying to do the best they can, and you can't convey it's hard to convey the negative aspects of things. For example, you can't have a video of how monotonous it is driving through a green tunnel on the Cassier Highway for 8 hours. It's like I said in a previous video, if you believe the YouTube, there's a bald eagle building a nest in every RV, and there's a grizzly behind every tree, and it's just not that way.
Right.
I'm not saying don't go. I'm not saying don't RV. I love the RV part of it. I love our 48 the experience that we had in the 48 states and in Alaska was excellent, and I think everybody that wants to do that should do it. Mm-hmm. And we still got the RV. She's parked out here, and we're planning our next trip now. But you have to be aware of the negatives as well as the fun part. What you got, Mama?
Yes. I had stayed in a camper before, but it was just kind of stationary, never traveling around or any of that stuff. So I got the same thing off YouTube, and they make it look glamorous, and it's not glamorous, let me just say. I did enjoy our trip. I think once we got back from Canada, I was just uncomfortable in Canada because, it's a foreign country, and it's the closest to the United States, but still. But it's different. Like Papa said, you cannot convey how monotonous it is sometimes. And the silence, because, we spend pretty much every waking minute together. Even I run out of things to talk about. So that was a lot. But yeah, it was a good reality check. It was fun, and I enjoyed our trip. We had an epic trip, and Papa said we're planning to do it again, not that same way, but different places. So it'll be great. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just a little bit about that. I'm proud of us. We had,
yes.
There were a couple of tense moments where we get on each other's nerves, but surprisingly few. Not anywhere close to what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And but we get along pretty well anyway.
Yeah.
And we're usually on the same page, but and every once in a while there's because we look at things differently. Here's a shocker. Men and women communicate differently.
Yes, they do.
Something that I say that's clear in my head as the sun is. The way I communicate it to Sonia or the way she communicates it back to me is two different things.
Yeah.
And you have to keep that in mind. But I'm proud of us. We did very well.
Yeah.
And it's living in you could literally put the square footage of the RV that we lived in inside this dining room.
Yeah.
and we lived in it for 2 months and a piece.
Yeah.
So it's there is a learning curve, and like I said, in the other video, we just jumped in the deep end. We didn't have any business doing what we were doing. The first time that I pulled a car on a tow dolly was the day that we left.
Yes.
The first time I dumped a tank was after we got the RV. The first time I'd driven a Class C was when we drove this off the dealer's lot
In Kentucky.
in Kentucky.
And we had to drive home.
And we didn't have any. I didn't have any experience doing any of this stuff. Hooking up, unhooking the tow dolly. It was just all new, and the fact that we survived it has got nothing to do with our skill. It's got to do with God watching over us.
Yes.
And taking care of somebody that didn't have any business doing what we were doing.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, we've never had any kind of disagreements, maybe once or twice the whole time we've been together. But we just kind of just talk about it, and somebody will go off and they'll calm down, and then we'll just kind of come back and we'll talk about it. But we don't have any, we've never had any major disagreements or anything. We are pretty much on the same page about lots of things, and we talk things out. So it was good for that. Yeah, and we probably didn't, I was anxious about, we just bought my car. It's a 2024, and it's not really, they say you can dolly tow it, and we did. We dolly towed it everywhere. But, I was kind of anxious about that. I thought, oh my goodness, what if we mess up this brand new car and, this, that, and another. But, as time went on, it was fine. So it was good. So now we're moving on to your favorite city.
Missoula.
I think that's mine too. Missoula was my favorite city.
Any place, Alaska is beautiful.
Yeah.
But there's nothing in Alaska that we couldn't have matched in the States.
Right.
Any place in western Montana is
stunning.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful.
When we win the lottery, not if, but when we win the lottery, we're finna find old Papa in western Montana somewhere. Probably on a ranch backed up against the national forest where nobody can get in behind us, and sitting on a porch drinking coffee. But that's where we're finna go when we get the chance.
Yeah, that's right.
My least favorite city was Albuquerque.
Yeah, mine too.
If you go back and watch the Albuquerque video, there was gunfire all night. And we stayed at it. We paid a lot to stay at this campground.
Yes.
And it was a bougie campground, but there's gunfire all night. It was in a bad neighborhood. I'm sure when they built the campground, it wasn't in a bad neighborhood.
Oh, right.
But the neighborhood encroached on it.
Yes.
And I'm about 99% sure somebody tried to steal our gas that night and tinkered around with different things, and it doesn't have to be that way. But that's my least favorite city. What about you, Mama?
Yeah, that was mine too. And let me just say a little something about this. There was some campgrounds that I just do not feel comfortable in. I say maybe one or two. I didn't really like that one campground that we camped in Kluane Lake at the campground. I just didn't like that. It just had a bad vibe. And I have learned over the years, I'm old enough, that I trust my instincts, and I trust my gut and my vibe. And if something don't feel right, I'm out. So I did not really care for that. And the one at Glacier, it was okay, but the bathrooms, like they had one set of bathrooms up kind of toward the road, and I don't know, just for whatever reason, I just didn't want to go up there by myself. I was going to drive because it was kind of a little jaunt from our campground. It was kind of getting a little dark. It was in the evening, not really dark, but in the evening. And so I didn't really feel comfortable with just kind of going up there by myself. So I asked Papa, I said, would you just go up there with me? And him and Henry walked up there, and they kind of milled around and waited on the thing there for me, the bench, until I took a shower and come back out. But and Papa, bless him, he's so good. He's so good to me. He calls me princess all the time, and it's true, because he treats me like a princess all the time. He didn't ask me, he didn't say, why do I need to go up there? What's going on? Nothing. He asked me nothing. He just does it, and he just did it. So I hadn't told him that, but I just didn't like that it was just kind of a vibe I got that I just didn't really care for that place. I don't know. It was kind of strange.
We joked about getting me a T-shirt that says "I'm just waiting on my wife."
Yeah.
So and I can wear that in those situations, so
Right.
people don't think who's this old pervy dude just sitting around the bathroom.
Right. Because Papa will do that. He will, and he's done that all the time that we've been together. He will assess somewhere, and if he doesn't think that I need to be going in there by myself, then he'll go in there. Or he just will say, "Nah, we ain't doing this," and here we go. I think back to one time we was in Cody, Wyoming, and there was a famous motorcycle club that had
With the H.
had their meeting out there. We didn't know it. And Papa had planned, and we was going to stay at this one hotel out there. And we pulled in, and I'm sure they're the nicest people. They probably are, but you know how things are. Their reputation precedes them. A few people, will just kind of make things difficult for other people. But anyway, there was a bunch of them there, and Papa says, "No, we're not staying here. We're trying to get up early and go to Yellowstone." So we just thought, well, we didn't want to take the chance of maybe them having a party or something. So we went on down the road and went somewhere else. But anyway, but Papa's always taking care of me like that, and he knows I love him. And I'm glad for that. So, but anyway, I digress.
Sort of along those same lines that I've bashed Canada a lot on this channel, and let me say we didn't have any problems in Canada. We didn't have any problems with the Canadian people. We didn't have any problems with the border. We didn't have any problems with the campgrounds. We didn't have any problems at all.
No,
I just didn't like Canada. Didn't like it. It's my opinion. Everybody can have their opinion. I didn't like it. When I was in college, I went rock climbing once, and you don't know if you're gonna like something until you do it. I didn't like rock climbing. I don't like Canada. I just don't. Canada has got poop.
Hey, Fanny will be watching this.
Well, anyway, I didn't like Canada. One of our granddaughters has a saying that she started saying, and I think it's the cutest thing ever.
Is.
So I say it, and I probably shouldn't. No. I was going to get her in trouble. No. But anyway, I didn't like Canada. If I got anything to say about it, I ain't going back. And it's nothing but against the Canadian people. It just didn't like it. I'm not going back to Albuquerque. Didn't like it. Okay, what else we got?
We are at to plan or not to plan. Talking about like your campgrounds, your activities, and your time on the road driving.
I think planning is half the fun, because you get that. I sat down here at this table with a map and 2 or 3 maps and the Campendium app and the Good Sam app and the KOA app, and I planned out our route. Mm-hmm. And I think that is part of the fun of doing it. But then they had the fires in Banff and Jasper, so we had to reroute the whole thing. But we still had campgrounds. We knew where we were going.
Yeah.
So the good side of that is you know where you're going. You know where you got a place to stay. You don't have to worry about we got to find a campground. It's getting dark. We ain't got no cell phone service. Yeah. You know where you're going. The bad part of that is you're locked in to going that far.
Yeah.
Either if it's 350 miles, you're locked into driving 350 miles, whether you want to or not. If it's for different times during the trip, there was a shorter drive day. I think one drive day I messed up the planning and we only drove 93 miles or something or other.
Yeah.
But that's where our reservation was, so we only drove 93 miles. So you got to, if you're going to do the planning, make sure that you're doing it. Just keep that in mind. That you're locked into because a lot of times you have to pay, a deposit at least. And if you don't show up, if you cancel within 24 hours, then you lose your deposit, and that's a whole another issue there. Mm-hmm. If you don't plan on the way back through Canada, we didn't have any campgrounds. We boondocked one night just at a roadside pullout, and then we would like today is Friday, so we would Friday we would look at where we wanted to spend Saturday night, and we would call one stop ahead. And if they had a place, then we'd stop the next place. Yeah.
Well, I think it was the time, excuse me, I think it was the time of year as well that we went. Because I think like during the summertime, like June, July, you might run into a problem with that. Because it seems like we were on the tail end of people coming back. Because several people had said, oh, you're late. Not late, but you're later in the season.
Right.
Coming and going.
And I didn't think about that. That's something to consider also. If it's in your busy season or peak season, then you may want to get reservations. Because I started making reservations in
March.
Early, and so we make sure that we knew where we were going. If I was going to do it again, which I'm not, but if I was going to do it again, I would plan at least on the way up there, so you'll know what you're getting into, and you'll have a place.
Yes.
We are going to take an RV trip somewhere next summer. My plan is to work out west someplace seasonally, and then go from there to New England is the plan. So we'll probably have reservations in because we're planning to go to New England during the leaf peeping time when everybody else in the country wants to go to New England. So we're going to have reservations then.
Yeah.
But it's your own personal preference. I would rather have the security of knowing where you're going, knowing that you got a place. If we didn't have the RV, I'd have reservations at a hotel someplace. So, rather than just trying to find one. We came through Salt Lake City one night. Didn't have a reservation, and there was a convention in Salt Lake City.
Not on this trip.
Not on this trip.
Yeah,
but
this a couple years
the
ago.
Previous trip, and I don't know how many hotels we stopped at. They didn't have reservations. They didn't have rooms. They didn't have any vacancies. So we wound up driving almost to Moab before we could find a room, and that was unpleasant. And we were already tired by the time we got to Salt Lake, because we were planning on the day ending there, and then we got there and we couldn't find a room, so we had to drive 4 or 5 more hours additionally, and that was unpleasant.
Yeah.
So if you want my opinion, make reservations.
Yes, I think so too, especially if you're going up through Canada and Alaska too, because you don't have cell service at a lot of places, so you won't be able to call and get it. I mean, if you run into a good town like we've talked about before, Verizon was great, and we had our InReach Garmin Mini, but sometimes you'll run into a town and you'll get service, but that's maybe a couple hours away. Maybe that's where you want to stay, or some campgrounds are closed or whatever. So I think planning initially is good. I think that is good.
And you have to keep in mind where you are too, because the variety of campgrounds available to you are, in Tok, I think there were 3 or 4 campgrounds. If you're looking at Williamsburg, Virginia, there's probably 50 within a half hour of Williamsburg. So you gotta have to keep that in mind also.
Right.
What's next?
Pets on the road with you.
Not the reason, but a consideration of why we got the RV instead of just getting a hotel every night and just going like we usually do is our dog.
Yeah.
Love me some Henry.
Yeah.
And he's getting old, and the boarding of him, it gets harder on him, and there was no way to board him for 2 months.
No,
and so
we wouldn't consider that.
No, so we took him with us. The downside of that is, there are things that it's like traveling with a baby. You can't you can't just say, well, let's go over here and listen to this music and take the baby with us. So you can't do that. And the same way with the dog.
Yeah.
So there were things that we could have done and most probably would have done without Henry that we couldn't do with Henry. But I wouldn't have changed it.
No.
One of my favorite pictures and one that I'm going to have printed out is Henry at the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
He never got to see an ocean before, and I think that's a cool picture. I'll get Mama to
we'll put that in here. Yeah.
And
he was a good boy.
he was. He didn't like the long drive days. You
Right.
can tell he was just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the heat coming up from the floor or the vibration but if it was a long drive day, especially on a bad road, he didn't have a good day.
No. And I think toward the end, as because we were just like driving the last 3 or 4 days, the last week, I mean, he just looked worn out. It's like he was ready to be home. He's ready to be off the road, and we could kind of see that in him. So,
And one of the things that you can tell by looking at me that I like to eat, and one of the sort of our thing is we go to a new town, we find a hole in the wall restaurant that
yeah,
that's not a chain, and we go try it out, and you'll see how that is, and we couldn't do that really
yeah,
with Henry. We can get it to go, but it's really not the same thing.
yeah,
But that's I don't understand people that board their dog and don't consider that, or that people that rehome their dogs. The dog Henry didn't choose to come live with us. I chose him, so I chose that responsibility then. So that's responsibility from now until he's not with us anymore. So that's my traveling with pets rant. What else we got?
yeah. He was good. He was a good boy, but I was kind of constantly worried about him. In the back of my mind, I was afraid, he would get into something, or like in the Southwest, like there's rattlesnakes and spiders and things. So I was kind of concerned that he would get bit, but he did not, or step on something, but he did not, and he was a good boy. Living tiny for 2 months in our little RV. What'd you think about that, Papa?
It's an adjustment. You can't both be in there at the same time.
No.
We kind of fell into roles that I would do A, B, C, and D, and while I was doing that, my mom would do E, F, G, and H, and we come together in the middle. And you've got to do that, or else you're going to be bumping into each other, and then it starts out, excuse me, pretty soon as get out of my way, and so it's
Yeah.
you got to remember that. But it's certainly doable.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it until this trip, but a tiny house is doable. You just have to change your mindset. You have to understand that you can't. She can't be in the kitchen when I have to go to the bathroom. Somebody's got
Right.
to move.
Yeah.
And it's just something you get used to.
Yeah.
While I'm thinking about that, checklist. Every other YouTube channel has got a checklist. The YouTube channels that have websites have checklists that you can download. Some of them you can buy. You don't need no checklist. You do the same 4 or 5 things every night, and I do the same 4 or 5 things, hooking things up and tearing things down. My mom does the same 4 or 5 things inside, doing getting it ready, or when we put the slide out, getting ready to live that night, or however many nights we're gonna be there.
Yeah.
You don't need a checklist. Forget a checklist.
Yeah.
You just do this. Like for example, when we get to the campground, especially if it's hot, the first thing I do is plug in the electric.
Yeah.
My mom get the air going for her and Henry, and then I guess she sits down until we do the slide. After I get the electric going, I get the water hose out of the storage and get ready to hook the water up. Right, I do hook the water up, but I have to do that before we put the slide out, because our configuration, once the slide comes out, you have to duck your head and go underneath it to get to the storage. So it's easier to do the water and the electric before we put the slide out. So that's what I do. I do the electric first, then I come back around and get in the storage compartment and get the water out. If we're gonna unhook the tow, we call my mom's car the skate. It's
Yeah.
But if we're gonna unhook the skate, then I'll get that ready and take it off the ramp so we can go wherever we're gonna go. And then once the water is hooked up, then I'll tell my mom that to go ahead with the slide, and she puts the slide out and does whatever she does in there. I usually just stay outside and stay out of the way, because there's not enough room for both of us in there anyway. And then just vice versa, when we get ready to leave.
Yeah.
My mom does all her stuff, and she's got her own manual checklist that she goes through before we put the slide back in. And then I unhook everything. Usually, while she's doing her checklist, me and Henry will take the garbage off and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Then Henry gets to do his business, and we dump the garbage, and we come back, and the slide is in. That's my cue to go ahead and unhook the water, unhook the electric, and then if we have to load the skate back up, then we'll do that.
Yeah, usually when we first get there, me and Henry, we sit down because if we're gonna take off the Kia, then once it pops off there, it rocks the RV. And so I have been standing up when it does that, and it kind of goes you some days for a little, it'll jerk you. So I have Henry sit down, and then we sit down and wait. And then Papa, once he takes it off, once I see him in the rear camera get in and take off, or fixing to take off, then we if we have been standing up, we are sitting down, because it will jerk. And Henry, I'm afraid if he's over near the stairwell, he will fall and hurt his leg or whatever. So yeah, we've got our own routine, but living tiny, you can do it. You can do it. That was all on our list.
Is that all it is?
Yeah. You can do it, and this will be in another video, but you don't need to take everything that you thought you did. So,
Yes, that'll be in the next video. If you got any questions or
Yes.
suggestions, what topics you want us to cover in
Yes.
the next video, leave us a comment.
yes, please.
We're up to 62 subscribers.
Yes, thank you.
So thank you to the new subscribers. Thank you to the old subscribers.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you to everybody that gives us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I don't care. If you
Yeah.
don't like it, then give us a thumbs down. And
Yeah.
and thank you to everybody that comments. And if you got any suggestions or something that you want us to talk about, we were on the road 2 months and 2 days. Neither one of us called a divorce lawyer. Neither one of us hit each other. And we all three made it back
Yes.
in the same shape that we left. So we did something right. So
Well, actually, we made it back in less shape, in more shape, I should say.
yes,
Because we all got on the scale, except for Henry, when we got home, and we've all lost weight. So we're doing better.
so just being, just by default, we had to be more active.
Yeah.
Climbing up down to get in the rig, and Henry I can't just open the door and let him go to the bathroom.
Right.
You got to go with him. So it's been good for all of us.
Yes, it has.
But leave us a comment, leave
Yes.
us a question, leave us a topic, and we'll cover that next time. And Mama will put a picture of Henry at the ocean
Yes.
in here, and whatever other pictures she thinks are necessary.
Yeah.
And we'll have another recap, at least one more, and we may have 2 more depending on how many comments we get.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably take a break from
Yeah.
posting until we start the Florida Odyssey. We're gonna.
Right.
The plan is to winter in Florida at least for 90 days or so. Not all winter, but 90 days,
Yeah.
give or take. What else you got, Mama?
Nope, that's it. That's it.
All right. If nothing else, leave us a comment. And I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was going to do our tagline.
I know. You
You're
ready?
okay. Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. If nothing else,
We'll see you down the road.